Hello, Kevin Furman here. We're doing the last installment of the month for Magic of Thinking Big. It's me and my dog Duke. Hi, Duke. Say hi. So Duke is Duke is making an appearance this week. He tends to hang out and wonders what's going on, why I'm talking to no one, but I'm talking to you. So whoever happens to see this, I'm talking to you and sharing some thoughts on the last chapters of The Magic of Thinking Big by David Schwartz. So thanks for checking it out. And I have some thoughts. Some of these chapters, right off the bat, some of these chapters actually have more to do with what we're going to pick up in a couple of months, which is the theme of what I do in my business, in my leadership training and coaching business. Is it's under an umbrella what I call E3. It's really the three E's, but it sounded cooler to say E3. Anyway, so the three E's, once again, are effective with people, efficient with things, and encouraging with myself. And there's lots of areas underneath all three of those, but that's where I tend to try to envision how it all fits together. How do you actually become a leader? Or how do you work on yourself um, and become a better you? And I tend to think of, well, if we can work on these three areas, we can pinpoint, we can kind of think of the overall arching idea of what, a theme that runs through them. There's lots of ways to attack it. And I found it really helpful to organize my thoughts about, well, how do you do this? There's so much information out there, including the book we're going to talk about today. And so, anyway, that's E3. If you'd like to know more about that, feel free to check it out. You can email me at kfurman at furman. Oh, sorry, at E3LC.net is actually my email for leadership training and coaching. So let's get right to it. So, Magic of Thinking Big. All right, so we're doing chapters 9 through 13, which finishes out the book. And a lot of these chapters, as I mentioned, actually have more to do with the efficient with things, actually more than effective with people. So I'm going to highlight the parts of the chapters that are more in line with the theme of this month, and then those things that David brought up in the book that are more in line with like being efficient with things, and even being encouraging with yourself, although that carries through in it being effective with people. Those they all tie together. But anyway, so I'm going to highlight more of what the theme is for this month, and maybe the stuff that's what I was going to say is the stuff that's more in line with effective with things gets picked up by other books a lot of the time. David has some interesting thoughts about them, and it may come up in a conversation in another book of the month. But at this point, we're going to forge ahead. All right, so chapter 9. This one actually I think has the most in line with the theme of the month of being effective with people. And well, even the title of the chapter, think right towards people, right? How to think right towards people. That's pretty much how to be effective with people, right? So that's what's great. Is he, kind of it's like, here it is. Like, how do you do it? All right. So one of his first points was that success has to have the support of other people. It's very difficult to find any version of what success means to people without the support of others. And that has a lot to do with, has a lot to do with just the world is made up of people, right? So even if it's money, that's all you measure success by is money. Well, you need people to buy the things that you're trying to sell, right? You also need help producing the things or distributing the things that you want to sell. Even if it's a sole proprietorship and you're doing just your own thing. And if you're just providing a service where you have to sell that service to someone to make money, right? So you don't really live in a bubble. He didn't really say it that way, but that's, even just money straight up. If there's lots of ways to look at what success means. There's creating a fulfilling life full of friendships and relationships, right? Well, that's people. You can't get around that one, right? So we could, slice it all kinds of ways, but no matter how you look at it, it takes other people to be successful. So to think right towards them is going to help that process along, right? It's going to kind of grease the wheels, as they say. And so one of the first things he says about doing that, well, how do you think right towards people? Well, one of the things he says about leaders is that they initiate friendships and they go out of their way to do it. They do it right away. They don't wait for other people to come to them. They don't create this feeling like they're untouchable or unreachable. They go out of their way to just share, and not in a a rude way or an overbearing way, but just being vulnerable and willing to share what's going on for them, and being pleasant about this experience we call life. So leaders always are the ones to initiate friendships. I thought that was a good thing to remember. I certainly have gone through periods in my life when I've done that, and I've gone through too many periods in my life when I haven't. And I can say my experience of life, how I feel successful or satisfied with how my life is going, has more been when I've made those friendships more alive and reached out to people and just checked in. Hey, how you doing? I just wanted to see how you're doing. Doesn't, if it goes nowhere, that's fine. But live somebody's day by just saying hi. I've had that experience too, where I just texted someone and said, hey, I just was checking in, making sure you're okay. And they told me that that was really, really helpful and that it made a big difference. They were kind of going through a tough patch, and just to have somebody randomly say, how are you, really helped them. And so I got to remember that I don't know where people are. So it's kind of, I mean, I look at it sort of this way. For me, it's kind of stingy on my end to not reach out to people, kind of keep it all to myself. That seems really, almost like Scrooge from, from that whole side of our mythology and our culture. But anyway, so just saying, reach out, and leaders do. If you want to lead people, reach out and make friendships. So that was one of his first things. Now, in doing that, you've got to remember a few things, and he goes through a lot of the chapter talking about this. That you can't try to reach out to people and then be mad if they don't live up to your expectations. And again, he didn't say it quite exactly like that, but that's what he was describing. And so he says, you know people are people, right? Where no one's perfect. And that's the first kind of one thing, is that nobody is a perfect person. Everybody has flaws. Everyone has little habits that just don't seem to match up with yours, and they irritate you, right? But that doesn't make them a bad person. It doesn't even make them a bad friend. It's just, that's part of it. So just remember that no one is perfect, including you, right? So you have things that irritate people and you don't even try to. It's just because of the way they grew up, the way you grew up, your mannerisms just don't match up with theirs. And you may be friends, but just there's things that, just you're just different, right? And so the thing about that, I mean, and that's sort of the second point of what he said, was that others have a right to be different, right? They don't have to live up to your expectations. They're living up to their own expectations, however those are right now for them, right? So for you to put up these artificial, like, you must do this to be my friend, doesn't really create a lot of, sharing and openness and trustworthiness and well, trust in general, when you set up these barriers, right? So the last point he made on that, it's kind of the same lines, but he says, learn to live and let live, kind of have a live and let live attitude. Whereas if somebody blows it, like, hey, you've blown it, you've made mistakes, give them a break. It's not, hey, we'll get over it, we'll work through it. It's not a big deal, right? It's not going to ruin our friendship because you forgot to call me or whatever. That's a really small example. And it may be a big example of just something they did that really was a mistake, like a bad mistake. And the bigger person is going to say, all right, you know what? I didn't like that. Let's talk through it and then let's move on. And that's really what it comes down to. When there's a disagreement or there's a misunderstanding, or even difficult feelings of something that maybe someone heard something about you that they find distasteful, and yet that what they heard wasn't really all that true, maybe partially, tiny bit, but wasn't really true, and they're operating under that big truth, this strange thing. So they're operating under some misinformation. So the only way to clear that up is to talk about it. They're not just going to wake up one day and change their mind, like, well, I don't think that was true, right? They're going to need other input, and the only way to do that is hear, kind of where you're coming from, and maybe they can rectify the two informations. And that was a weird sentence. And then, say, okay, well, that one seems more plausible, and that kind of, I guess that's okay, but I can see where there's a misunderstanding. And oh, then now I understand, right? Now I can see that that actually wasn't true, and you actually aren't really as bad as what they were saying, or whatever, just in that kind of context. But that's only going to happen through communication. And the leader in the situation, the bigger person, is going to reach out and at least offer. It may take a long time for them to kind of come back. And I certainly have situations where I've reached out to some people in my life and they don't respond. And it's kind of like, wow, what happened? And I don't know because they won't let me know. But I'm going to keep reaching out. I'm going to keep letting them know that I'm here. I'm not going anywhere. I'm your friend. I'm your, relative, whatever. And that I'm here whenever you're ready. Let's chat. Let's get this sorted out. That's what I want to do. I want to find out what we can create out of it. So inside of that, or just along with that, all what I just said, another way to say all this is just everyone is a package. And I stole that from somebody. I didn't make that one up, but just everybody's a package, right? We all, again, there's great stuff about people and there's not so great stuff about people. It doesn't mean, you have to take an average and whether they're good or bad, right? You take them as they are, and they are where they are, and love them anyway, kind of deal. And the other thing about that is just learn to appreciate the differences between people will help you just be more friendly towards everyone because everyone is different. And my thought, I just told this to a friend of mine the other day. I actually was playing some music with my band, and somebody was talking about this group, that group, whatever. And I said, we all need the differences. We all have to have debate about what's going on. Otherwise, it'd be boring, right? Not one person has all the best ideas. We need to debate it and figure out from different sides, and we can talk about from personal to political, all that is true. Like we need more people to actually communicate and listen to what other people think so that you can maybe you might have to reevaluate the way you think. I've had to change a few of my views over the years, more than a few, right? And really think like, well, is that actually true or do I really believe that? And some I've stuck to and some I haven't because I've thought about it and I've had other people tell me what they think. So appreciate those differences, right? It'd be boring if everybody was the same thing. So anyway, the last thing that well, not the last thing I'm going to talk about in the chapter. There's more in this chapter. It's actually chock full of lots of good things. It gets more in the efficient with things side, but one of the things he brought up was your brain he was talking about kind of like a radio channel. You have like two radio channels in your brain. There's channel P as in Paul, and there's channel N as in Nancy, right? So there's the P or Paula, or whatever. P is for positive, right? So if you tune in to channel P and you're thinking to yourself, okay, how am I going to handle this situation? If you tune into that channel, well, remember the time that you talked to that other guy and that worked out really well when you said this first or you apologized or whatever you did that really kind of helped the conversation go. Well, why don't you try that? That you've done good with that. Go for it, right? If you're thinking about the same situation, you try to tune it, so to speak, like tune into a radio channel, channel N or negative, right? You're going to be thinking, yeah, but man, they were kind of mean. I don't know. I don't know if I want to deal with this. Kind of a hassle, so it just starts to go down that negative path. So it's a choice. It truly is a choice. Are you going to tune into the positive side of your experiences or the way you think, or are you going to tune into the negative side? And it's not just an automatic thing that happens just because you wake up. It's a choice, and for me, I know for a fact that you can practice that and wake up in the morning being positive. And there's lots of ways to do that. And he didn't get into that. I'm just going to say I spent most of my childhood on channel N. And I had circumstances going on. It was pretty rough and, not ideal. But it still was a choice. And I knew there was a limit, right? I would be negative and it was mostly towards myself. It wasn't kind of towards life. And I began to shift that. Actually, it was in high school. I began to shift that over, and I started thinking, well, maybe that isn't the right way to think about things. Maybe it really isn't that way. Maybe I'm just seeing it weird. And that began the process of me shifting that over. It took a long time, really long time, to kind of get to a point where now, after practicing, looking for the silver lining, so to speak, or looking for what's the opportunity is actually more accurate. I now wake up and I'm looking forward to what I got going on, and before I go to bed, I look at the calendar. Oh, I get to do this and this and this tomorrow. Great. All right, good. Let's get ready and go to bed, get up, let's take it on. Right. So more often than not, I'm on channel P when I wake up. And that was practice. That was not something I grew up doing at all. So it's something you can learn. Anyway, so there's chapter 9, kind of in a nutshell. Now, chapter 10 is get into the action habit. Now, this is definitely getting into the efficient with things side of what we're going to talk about in a couple months. So I'm not going to say a whole lot about this chapter other than I did read another great book, which is probably going to come up on the list at some point, and it's called Atomic Habits, and it's really, really good book. There's two of them that I definitely want to get to in the months that we are going to do efficient with things. And I'll just precursor this now. There's The Slight Edge by Jeff Olson and this Atomic Habits. So those books are on the list of during those months. I don't know if it'll be this year or next year, but anyway, feel free to check them out because they're extremely helpful and great reads and just killer information. Anyway, so get into the action habit. Basically what it boils down to as far as like for being effective with people, and this is kind of efficient with things, but he boiled it down to now. Now is the magic, right? Rather than I'll do it later, I'll do it next week, I'll start tomorrow, someday, right? So all those, he kind of talks about those words, that kind of like that verbiage is really the kind of synonyms for never. Now is all we really have. We only have the present. We can think about the future, which is a cool thing that our brains are able to do, is we can actually plan and think and imagine a future, right? Something that hasn't happened yet. We can actually see that. But what we really have is right now, right? Right now, right now, right now. Every time it's like just present. That's what we got. So it's about doing things in the present, not waiting for something to line up perfectly or whatever. And what that does, and from a effective with people standpoint, is you begin to be the person that people know as someone who gets things done. And that is impressive, right? When I meet people that are you just know they just handle stuff, right? Something comes up, handled. There's no like, oh yeah, I might do that, I don't know. And I've struggled with that too. That's another one that, I was a kid, I struggled with that a lot. I got stuff done, but I major procrastination and all kinds of craziness, but I still got stuff done. I did fine and all that. But now is magic, is really, kind of the gist of the part of the chapter I want to highlight. So there's chapter 10. It's pretty quick, but that's that. Chapter 11, how to turn defeat into victory, right? So again, this is more about being efficient with things. This is kind of dealing with circumstances and environment and stuff like that. But so just it's the things that are helpful from a mental standpoint about how to be effective with people. Again, this chapter is not really in this vein, but I'm going to just highlight a couple things that were really cool in there. Just remember, no matter what you're doing, there is a way to get it done. Right? It may take a lot of extra work, may take more people, may take a lot of help, but there is a way to accomplish whatever you're trying to accomplish. It may take 3 or 4 times. It may take 10 times. It may take 100, 1,000, whatever, right? But there is a way to accomplish whatever it is you got in front of you. The other thing is when you're like headlong in and just, oh man, it's be like, he says back off. Just back off. Take a bigger picture of it, like kind of look more from a bigger viewpoint. Start afresh, like kind of, okay, wait, okay, how have we been doing? Let's evaluate how our effectiveness is, right? So this gets with kind of next month's theme, or next E theme. So once you do that, like then just start back in, like, hey, I think I see something a bit different here, or no, what we're doing is right. It's just going to take a little longer. At least you're fresh. He says start off fresh, so you're fresh in initiative. Even if it's the same path, then you've got a clearer sense of like, no, it's going to work. I can tell, or I'm not sure. Let's keep going and get some more data, or what we've been doing, I don't know if that's it. Let's tweak it. Let's try this, right? So he talks about that. And the last thing apart about that whole thing is just remember that there's good in every situation. And that has to do with people also. I think that's where it ties into the people part is defeat. Like you have a conversation, it just doesn't go well. They get upset, you both get upset, whatever. But just remember there's good you can learn from that, right? And that's the other way to think of that is there's always an opportunity in every situation. In every moment, there's an opportunity. And it's a choice of where you're going to take that opportunity. So a while ago, when I was younger, I kept hearing like, don't call things problems, call them challenges. And when I first heard that, I went, okay, this is more positive to say challenges. But even then, like a challenge, that still has some baggage to it, right? And then I started hearing about opportunity. Like it's not a problem, it's not even a challenge, it's an opportunity. That took a while for me to get because I was still hanging on to the baggage rather than the situation, right? When you can just look at the situation and see, all right, what would be the opportunity? If this were so, what's the good that can come of it, right? What's the best option out of all what's going on? That's looking at the opportunity. And I think that helps you be more effective with people, right? Then you can start talking about how to move forward rather than get stuck and mired in what happened. All right, there's chapter 11. All right, so chapter 12, right? How to use goals, right? How to use goals, get things moving along. This is steeped in, once again, being effective with things. So basically, I think in goals, there's something about being effective with people that you can look at it this way. First, you have to, when you're going to set up goals or you're going to work with people, right, and you're going to work on a project together. Let's talk about it in those terms and set a goal there. You have to know where you're going to go, right? You can't just start and hope you get where you wanted. You need a plan, right? And the plan is another way, as a goal. Now, a goal has some specific things about it, right? It's kind of time based. It has a measurable result. There's lots of things about goals, and that's been widely talked about. And I'm going to get heavy into that in our effective with things months. But just you have to start with where you want to go, and that comes back to being, again, when you're working with people, that's going to help everyone be in the same place. So that's being effective with people, and that's how it ties in. Another thing that's very helpful just for yourself and just being clear about where you're going is to sit down and do a 10-year plan. And he talks about that in the chapter, and I've seen people do a variation of this that's been very effective. So sit down, like say, what's the date now? What's the date 10 years from now? What's my age right now? What's my age going to be in 10 years? What about my kids, my spouse, my friends, whatever, right? The people that you're involved with, what are their ages? What's going to happen, right? Not what's going to happen, but where are they going to be in 10 years? And then you start to look at, well, where do I want to be in 10 years? Where do I want to be in my career? What do I want to be in finances? What do I want to be in friendships, fun, hobbies, vacations, work, a house? Am I going to live in the same house? Am I going to move by then? Am I going to do renovations? Am I just going to keep it the same and tweak it, so to speak, like just add little things that are going to enhance it? Whatever, right? So you just get 10 years. Think of 10 years. That's a long time to get some things done, right? But it's good. Like, okay, that's where I want to go. Now you know where you want to go. Then you can start making a plan for what's really important. And again, that gets kind of into the other months of what we're going to talk about in this theme of E3. But starting with a 10-year plan can really get you some clarity about, where you are. And it's like, okay, so then you can stop worrying about now. You can start thinking about, where am I going? And that can really help you be more positive around people and be excited about what's happening and attract the kind of people that you want in your life. So that's 12. That's all I'm going to say about chapter 12. And the last chapter in the book is how to think like a leader. So again, it has a lot to do with, this one's a lot to do with people, right? How do you think like a leader? Well, you can't lead without people. But I'm going to keep it kind of short. All right. So what I'm going to say is he has 4 kind of things like, well, how do you be a leader? How do you think like a leader? So first one is trade minds with the people you want to lead, or trade minds with others. Right. He gives examples of kind of more advertising and marketing, but it also, and he did do one in there with a letter actually, but I do that a lot now. Right. Well, after I read that book the first time, that I remember that stuck with me. Like, yeah, if I'm gonna write an email, or I'm gonna write a letter, or if I'm gonna leave a voicemail, right? I want to think about, how is this going to come across for them? Are they going to read it in the way I intend it, or am I writing it in such a way they could easily misinterpret it, right? So you got to look at it from different angles a couple times, right? And then make sure your verbiage are using words that are in their field. If it's a business, kind of thing, well, use words that are in their field. Don't worry about your field, right? I'm trained in the music world, so if I start using musical terms all the time, some people are really put off by that. And if I'm talking to business people that want to say hire me for those services, I don't talk musical terms to them. I talk about business things. I talk about invoices and contracts and due dates, and it's very simple things, but I do it on purpose, right? I want to talk their language so they're comfortable. They know that they can deal with me on what's comfortable for them. So I'm trying to think like they are without changing me. I'm not changing me at all. And I'm not trying to be fake about it. I just know, in general, that's the kind of verbiage they want to use. Great, then use that verbiage. It's not going to change anything that I do, especially when I'm playing music, I'm playing music, right? And I'm doing that part of the service. But up around all of that, I can use the verbiage that helps them be comfortable hiring me. So that's one example. But even when you're just going to have a conversation with a student or a child, or or a parent even, well, how are they going to perceive it? How are you going to approach this so that they can understand where you're trying to come from? Not so much just I need to say it so that I feel better. Because when you say things just from that, like I just need to say this so I feel better. Well, that's all about you. Like I need you to say it so I feel better, right? So that is all about you. It has nothing to do with them, and so they may not receive it well at all, and the conversation may go nowhere, and then you don't get the satisfaction of just blurting out what you want to say. Now, can you express yourself when you need to? Absolutely, of course you can. If you want to have a conversation, it's good to kind of think, well, how are they going to hear this, right? And that's sort of what he's talking about when he's talking about trading minds with other people. Is how are they going to receive it? Let's use communication tools that best represent how they're going to best receive it, right? All right. And then the second thing is, whatever you're doing, humanize it, right? Instead of being like rule tasks oriented, like we got to do it this way. That's no exceptions. It's black and white. There are rules for a reason, and we got to follow the rules. There are times for that, obviously, right? There's situations where if we don't follow the rules, people can get hurt or worse, right? So we got to follow certain rules. But then there's other times when, rules were put in place because something in the past happened that created this huge debacle. And so they made a rule to, quote, make sure it doesn't happen again. But then that rule, became just automatic and everyone forgot about what caused it. And so when a situation presents itself that, kind of seems to go against the rule, but has nothing to do with what caused the rule, do you really need to follow it? I mean, it's worth questioning. Like, is it really worth making this person upset because of some rule when really it's just, you could easily just say, you know what, hey, make sure XYZ next time through, let's just handle it like this and everybody's fine, right? Rather than be like, nope, you can't. Now, I'm being very vague because there's all kinds of situations I could bring up, and that's not really the point. It's just thinking about what's the human way to handle things, right? Again, it's thinking about how they're going to how they're going to receive it or react to what you're doing. So if you think, what's the human way to do things? What's going to have some compassion involved in it when possible, right? Again, there are certain situations that you cannot compromise what the rule is, but a lot when you're dealing with just general working with people, you can rethink it, right? You can rethink even just how you present the rule. It's not just the rule itself, but how it's presented, right? No, you can't do that, right? Or we really encourage you to think this way. This will really help the whole process. Would you mind doing it this way? That'll help things move along. The order will feel faster for you. So, if you give us this information, we can get it to you even faster rather than you need to give us your information. Right. So there's different ways you can approach it. That's more what I'm talking about than actual like rules breaking, not breaking. And that's what David was talking about too. All right, the third thing. Let me move on. So the third thing is he makes a big point about think progress. Be a progressive person. And he doesn't mean like progressive in a political sense. He means thinking about having things move forward, doing things that are going to make things get better. Always be thinking about, well, how can I improve? How can we make this better? How can we change things so that it creates a better result? And always be talking about that. Always be for progress. Like if it's going to make things better, I'm for it, right? And it's not just blanket if people say it's going to be better, but you can, show like this is going to make things better. And here's how. That sounds great. Let's do it, right? And even if it goes against what you've normally done, if you're somebody that says, well, if it's going to make it better, let's give it a try, right? That's what he's talking about. And that's how you, as a leader, that's more inviting to people than to be someone who says, no, 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 we've always done it this way, right? We can't change because it works like this and we can't do it any different. Maybe we can, right? It's worth investigating. Now, if we can't, we can't, but if it's worth looking at because things change in the world, right? Obviously, these days things have a lot of things have changed for people in the last 4 or 5 months. So we got to think a little differently about things to move forward again. All right. So be progressive in your thinking about making things better, taking initiative, creating new opportunities. And the last part he talks about in being leader is take time to just stop and think, right? Instead of it being just go, 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 I'm going to lead, I'm going to just keep going and going, and we got to do this, got to do that. That's easy to do, and you need to do that, right? So if you're going to lead people, it's going to be a kind of a, you're on, right? But you got to take time for yourself to clear your thoughts, so to speak, so your brain can be actively working on the situations that you're trying to create or fix or improve, right? And he talks about two different things: directed and undirected thought. And it's semi obvious, I guess, but directed thought is you take time. He talks about 30 minutes a day. That's kind of his benchmark. What he wrote is 30 minutes a day. You sit down and you, in directed thought, you write down, here's what I'm working on, here's the situation, and you write down any and every idea you come up with in 30 minutes about how to address the situation, what's really going on, how, what are you doing to contribute to, if it's an issue, are you contributing it somehow, is there something you can do to minimize the problems, is there a different way to approach it or talk about it, or have someone else handle it. There's a myriad of things you could do in any situation, but just take that 30 minutes and just write down all your ideas. And then, then evaluate it later. Don't worry about whether they're right or wrong at first. It's just a matter of just take time to just get clear on what you're thinking. Good advice. Now, the other one, the undirected, I think he said undirected, indirected, undirected. I think it was undirected. Anyway, he talks about then it's 30 minutes. There's no like headline, I'm doing this. It's just you sit down and whatever comes to mind, yeah, write it. Now, he also says if nothing comes to mind, doodle, do something, right? Write something. So anything that comes to mind, just start kind of a stream of consciousness is another way to think of this, is you start writing things down and what is happening, what's going on, and see where it goes. And then put it away. Maybe the next day, just kind of glance over it, see what was there. If there are any ideas that pop out as worthwhile in keeping, put that in another file or write it down somewhere else or whatever, right? So it's just a matter of getting your brain to, the point is to like get your brain to work on things you're thinking about, as opposed to just be random, right? And just hope it comes to you at the moment, which happens. But it really is a good advice to just sit and think. Allow your brain to work on what is going on, because you have a supercomputer up here, more involved, more powerful than anything we've devised so far. We've got some pretty powerful computers these days, but this is even, way above that. So use it to your advantage. And that kind of gets to a thing he didn't bring up in the book, but it's said that we use 10% of our brain. I don't know if that's the truth, but scientists have said for many years, well, if you just sit and direct your thoughts, and most people don't do this, by the way. So if you consciously work on directing your thoughts on what you're working on, and you make that a habit, you make it a consistent, kind of like a muscle in your brain, like I'm going to do this. This is a regular thing. I want you to work on this. Isn't that using a little bit more brain power than normal? So aren't you starting to use a bit, like even if it was 11%, hey, now you're using more, right? So generally speaking, more brain power is going to help you out. Now, you want to make sure you're thinking about all kinds of different situations, maybe even get some input, right? And this is where somebody like a coach or a mentor, somebody can kind of give you perspective and just say, am I thinking about this right? And take it in. Doesn't mean what they say is truth, but it's good to have some perspective, right? So you can direct your thoughts and then kind of get some feedback on what that might mean. So good idea there also. He didn't bring that up, but I just think that's a good idea. All right, so that is the last chapter. So All of Magic of Thinking Big, great book, fantastic stuff. It was written quite a long time ago. It's close to 70 years now, but still holds tons of truths, timeless, right? They're timeless things that really speak to human beings. And I'll leave it with this. There was a quote that he put at the end of the book. So I'm just going to read it out of the book for you. All right, there it is. So I'll leave you with this. And after I read this, I'll cut up next month, right? So just a little teaser. We're going to be working on another book on being effective with people, and it's going to be Les Giblin's book, How to Have Confidence and Power in Dealing with People. So look for that announcement, and I'll see you guys next week on that. But from The Magic of Thinking Big, David Schwartz actually quoted Publius Cyrus, okay? A wise man will be the master of his mind. A fool will be its slave. So be the master of your mind and go forth and be awesome. All right. Thanks a lot. We'll see you around.